Sorry for the 4-minute delay, but there's going to be 1 more minute as I go grab something. I don't want to be off my timeline here. I said I was going to start right on time, so it's 2023, right? A new year. I'm supposed to be like organized and functional. I can't even get my microphone straight. What the hell? So I'm going to start that as well in a minute. And welcome to the couple of you that are here. But today on the Carpo's livecast, I'm going to be talking about narcissists. I'm going to be also talking about a couple of other things, a few topics that I wanted to discuss, but really haven't talked about. And sometimes I have a few different topics that come right into my mind that I want to discuss, and I think, should I make a video about this? And then it just passes, and it passes, and I thought, well, why not make a first live video of the new year and share some of my thoughts with people? So I was just starting the camera. Give me 2 seconds while and hello everyone, and give me a few seconds while I close the door and let my wife know that I'll be out here on the internets with all y'alls. So give me a second, and we'll get to talking about why I put Andrew Tate on my thumbnail. I will get to that. All right. First off, it's the first in the year. Happy New Year to everyone. My little phone charger's falling off. I'm having all kinds. This is the problem with the new year. I can't seem to get myself organized. What's going on? As I should first start out by saying, and starting my recorder here, as to say, Happy 2023, and welcome to 15-Minute Free Thinking. Today's podcast is actually a live cast, and I thought I would do a live cast so I could discuss some of the topics that I find juicy and interesting and relevant. And the reason why, as I said, that I put Andrew Tate, if you're not familiar with him, on the thumbnail for this live, it wasn't for clickbait, believe me, because only my subscribers are going to see the live cast. It was for the kind of humor of how ridiculous this whole like manosphere movement has become, to the point where, you know, some big hero to a lot of guys gets arrested for, like, you know, trafficking women, basically coercing them into doing things for him. It's a dark story that's no surprise, but I wasn't familiar with Andrew Tate until about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. I thought, who is this bald idiot out there screaming at guys to treat women like shit? And I need to talk about these topics. I need to get a little pissed off about how ridiculous the internet has made people. And the narcissism is just so far beyond anything I could imagine. I'm going to try to keep up on the comments. You know, here's the thing, and this is the first point I'm going to make about narcissism and what I've learned. Because I've actually wondered, am I a narcissist for making YouTube videos? And it's funny because somebody pointed out that a narcissist wants to post but never read the comments. It's that kind of idea. Whereas, not always. I mean, sometimes it's just because it's toxic. But whereas sometimes people actually share, but they're not always talking about themselves. Like, the narcissists out there are the Instagram influencers that are always telling you about their lives and their personal journeys and what they think is best for society. And we're growing up, and a lot of people are growing up in a world where they think that influencer is an actual job. And it's not, but it's not that it's breeding narcissists. It's just that it's allowing narcissists to flourish without being put in check. Because, you know, I've seen so many people throwing their clout around because they have some Instagram followers. And yeah, I'm a victim of watching some of these channels where people expose these folks and, for, you know, like really just filming people being confronted, for example. Like if you go down in some strips in the city. It's not people just driving their cars around down the strip anymore or meeting each other. It's literally people filming each other for Instagram. There's, they rent cars, they pull all kinds of bullshit to pretend that they're wealthy, or a lot of the times they are wealthy because they got famous just for being famous. But narcissism has become cultural. And as a symbol of that, you might not be familiar with Elizabeth Holmes, who, was this, supposedly she had this amazing invention, that could detect all of these different diseases. And then, of course, in the end, it was a fraud, right? But so many people invested and believed in her. It's the same way with, say, Bill Gates or Sam Bankman-Fried. The FTX scandal is like the biggest pyramid scheme, complete bullshit fucking ripoff in the last, like, rug pull, I guess you could call it, in the last, I don't know, as long as I can remember, it was bigger than Enron. In my day, Enron was a huge issue. And, but here's a guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, who was called the most generous billionaire. But it turned out he was scamming his investors all along. And I have a point to this and a reason why this relates. But first, I'm going to say hello to everyone that's in the chat. Hello, Rob. Hello, Chris. Hello, GSS Dory. A sperm count, huh? Is to hit 0 by 2045. It's probably a good thing because humans suck. But no, I'm kidding. It may be. I don't believe in predictions anymore, especially not ones 23 years out, because I'm just like really skeptical about humans' predictions about everything nowadays. So hello, Sunny from Germany. And so yeah, she said, again, Dory says the world feels more like an asylum every day. Yeah, well, it does. And I want to, first off, before I go any further, make a point as to why that's true, why I believe that's true. Because we choose to look at it. It's like a painful reality when people feel that they need to look at the news. I posted something the other day that was a little bit arrogant. And arrogance and narcissism may seem similar. Like, sometimes I feel like I just want to make this point politically, but I don't want to sound like an asshole, if that makes sense. But I posted something about, watching mainstream media and how it leads to basically no real knowledge because it's lying by omission. So it's not that a story is literally faked, but rather they're just taking one side on it. And yes, there's bias everywhere. We're all biased. We know this. But how do we use this to our advantage and actually be biased together on the right things? You see what I mean? It's not about who's right or wrong, but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to continue on my narcissism rant. What is narcissism, first of all? Is it a disease, or a disorder, or is it just human nature? There are many different aspects to look at this, but narcissism generally is, most narcissists that I've found, it's a look at me first, not look at the world, not look at what's going on in someone else's life or what's happening in general, but rather almost everything, because it's, and I'm going to go through a list later of all the things, the easy ways to identify a narcissist, but to return to my claim about whether I was asking myself if I'm a narcissist for posting videos, I actually like reading comments and I like the interactions. And also I realized I'm not talking about myself all the time. I feel weird when I tell stories about myself. Even when I write a song and I post it, I feel super awkward. But I do it just because, yeah, it feels good to share. But I don't have that general sense of I'm better than other people. In fact, I put myself down quite a bit. Yet at the same time, I have learned how to love myself. I had issues when I was a kid getting picked on. I always had bad acne. I was awkward, tall, lanky, still am, but it's not a poor me thing. It's rather now I've learned how to know who I truly am and don't care. I've fought through those things. But there's no way in hell that I really feel that I'm better than any other people. And when you meet narcissistic people, somehow they go to fall back on their, whether it be wealth, status, knowledge, many different things that they can build on to pretend like they're better than other people. So it's kind of like people who post a lot. It's not about posting online a lot. It's about what you're posting. Are you talking about yourself, or are you just talking about life? There are many different types of people, and it's not to sit and harp on others on what they believe is right, but there's a huge issue with guys like fucking Andrew Tate, like I said in the picture, but Jake Paul. Jake Paul's a perfect example, and I'm going to go on here about these fuckers because they're pathetic. You know, these are some of the grossest people in the world to me because they have a young audience that believes them, that buys into this manhood debate, this bullshit, this macho crap. You know, that, all you got to do is just act tough, right? Here, look at my muscles and look how much I work out and look at all this shit I eat. And I don't give a fuck how much you exercise or how fit you think you are or how pimp you think you are, but especially not how many women you've slept with. I mean, some of these guys are just gross. The things that they put into young men's heads, and it's extremely narcissistic because they're treating women like crap. And that bothers me. So yeah, I can't help but speak about it. But it's even worse when it's done just for shock value. And that's often what's happening on Instagram and TikTok, where influencers, if you want to use that term, will go out and pose in weird situations, let's just say controversial, but, all for clout and clicks. The kind of people that won't interact with anyone else except people like themselves. And I'll be honest, the reason I'm talking about this is not to harp on really influencers, but rather to inspire people not to buy into the bullshit. You are strong enough by yourself. You're a strong person, no matter who you are. If you just realize the power that you have as an individual to change your own life without having to rely on somebody else's bullshit, I mean, that can be an extremely empowering thing. And I think what inspired me to make this video was that Jake Paul, as I mentioned earlier, I don't follow the guy, obviously. He has a very young audience. But he was called out on his crypto zoo crap by, he was selling these, this cryptocurrency where it was these eggs that you hatch and you get these different creatures. And in the end, it all fell apart. And CoffeeZilla, another YouTuber, exposed him pretty bad over like a period of several videos. So Jake Paul responded by calling out CoffeeZilla for not doing his research and not realizing that the two guys that he'd worked with were actually career criminals, basically. Revealing that himself, and basically it was the worst apology / response video I've, ever seen. And I found it utterly humorous that people bought into this shit. And that people still support a guy like Jake Paul, who has continuously made fake cryptocurrencies, NFT projects. And look, I've been talking about crypto for years. I think it's complete bullshit, not because I don't think people can make money on it, but because people have to realize when a big-ass Ponzi scheme is amidst the entire world, people are going to speak up about it. And the only thing that the crypto bros have to say when people call it out is, it's not a scam, you just don't understand the inner workings. You don't understand blockchain. And that's complete bullshit, because actually a lot of us do understand how blockchain works. We've seen how mining works. And we also realize that the average person can't just go mine cryptocurrency anymore. You have to buy it from someone else. Then you have to pay a processing fee and a transfer fee. And you end up with FTX and people like Sam Bankman-Fried, who lost $60 billion of people's money. And all I can think of is, this guy was a hero to people. The most generous billionaire. What the fuck is that? Like, people really believed that this guy was a, quote, generous billionaire because he drove a Toyota instead of a Mercedes or something. The guy had been playing people the whole time. Basically, anybody who promises you overnight money through any service, crypto, NFTs, anything, you're gambling. You're rolling the dice, literally. I mean, maybe you'll get a 6, maybe you'll get a 2. You don't know. And it's controlled not by the market, as they want to claim. It's controlled by individuals who manipulate the market. Bitcoin is the one that people still stand up for, and it is one of the biggest ongoing schemes out there. And that one just, when it fell through recently pretty bad, the diehards, what they call diamond hands, there's a term for it. They call crypto whales the people who move, the crypto, the ones who hold a lot and make big movements. Whereas the diamond hands are the ones who are like, identify as being, dedicated to this currency. The thing is, it's not meant to be that way. Currency shouldn't be that volatile. And sorry to get off track. I guess that's where these videos lead live. I'd like to hear what you guys want to talk about too. The thing is, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear, according to my mind, but I want to hear your opinions on what you want to talk about too. So I'm going to go through my narcissism discussion about influencers, but I'm not going to just make this strictly me. I want to hear what you guys have to say. It makes it a hell of a lot more interesting. So let's see. I want to read the comments that I haven't caught up on here. Hello, Alom. Good to see you, my friend. Good day, all. Good. Simple to answer. Like I said, don't be afraid to leave a comment. I'll answer. If I know the answer anyway. So as I said, starting off with the whole Jake Paul crypto crap scam bullshit. The thing is, young people fall for scams and lies very easily. Young people are easily manipulated. They're the ones who buy merch from Jake Paul and then eventually, as they get older, end up buying cryptocurrency from Jake Paul, right? It's not just him. It is people who, all across YouTube, claim themselves to be, teachers of young men or gurus and experts. That's where CoffeeZilla, which I believe, I've never confirmed this, but I've been watching CoffeeZilla from the beginning, and I believe it used to be Coffee Break. Or maybe he started the second channel as CoffeeZilla. I don't recall. But I remember when he just had like in the thousands of subscribers, he built up his following exposing gurus, quote gurus. But I've always admired that because I wouldn't want to do that. I thought about that years ago and I was like, I don't want to be the guy who has to deal with other people threatening me because, these are exposing people with millions of dollars. That takes balls. That's more than just digging through the info. He actually calls the people and tries to get clarification. And I appreciate that. I feel like YouTubers have come into their own, and there is a group of YouTubers who have managed to make it through the waves of bullshit and chaos, and actually are still real and true to themselves and to what they want to present to the world. I want to be, just always keep true to myself because I admire that in others. But so anyhow, everyone's an actor syndrome is what I was going to get at next. I think this has become very, very prevalent in the online world, that a lot more people want to believe that, basically they're the center of attention. They're what matters. They're posting and sharing about themselves and their own lives. Like, I like to share when I finish building a guitar or share a podcast I made, but if I were to sit and share every aspect of my life, my kids, and expect people to like everything I do, it's just weird and awkward. That's why family vlogs have always been very strange to me. And, I think the one thing that really bothers me the most about it all is that so many people have become famous just for being famous. What I'd call, I guess, the Kardashian syndrome. So rather than making a product or an idea and then getting famous for it, they're famous for some stupid reason like a sex tape, and then they make a product. But they don't really make the product. They have it made in China, and then they put their name on it, and millions of people buy it. Basically the ads of the 80s when I was growing up have just become modern ads out of the mouths of celebrities. And I guess I shouldn't have expected anything better. I feel you should show the value of your work through the research you do. And if there's no product and there's no idea, then there's no value. But we've really let go of that. I mean, does anybody else out there feel like we've kind of lost that? Well, we all know we've lost tradition, but that might be a bad thing. Maybe worse than we realized at first. That losing that connection to our past, now that we're harping on every holiday and being mean to each other and our heritage, and a lot of people, do really despise each other and the country they grew up in. And to me, it's like, that's painful. I want to celebrate where I live and who I live with. I like my neighbors. I like the people that I interact with. So, I guess that brings me to the point there, which is fuck the rest of the world. You gotta, maybe living in your bubble isn't so bad sometimes, as long as that bubble works and it doesn't harm anyone else. But the internet is a window to the world, and that's not gonna allow us to stop any of this. People are going to continue to see moronic behavior, and it's going to amplify. And people are going to continue to think that they just can put their name on something and that it's valuable. And you can see this in the world of fine art, or art, whatever you want to call it, modern art. You can see it in the world of fast fashion. In fact, I was just in there watching a DW documentary. I got about halfway through. It was about fashion, the elitist, high fashion industry, and just how fucked up it is, but they weren't even doing any dialogue. Usually there's like a background voice. In this case, they just film the people. And I realized why, because it's self-explanatory. You can look at the absurdism of what happens at your average fashion show and say, wow, you don't even need anybody to narrate that. It's too absurd. You can see for yourself how ridiculous it is. Nobody's going to wear clothes like that. And the amount of money that goes into those things, flying people in from all around the world to go on a runway, and it's gross. But it's the same way I feel about soccer, right? FIFA. The World Cup in Qatar, and building all these huge fancy facilities. I saw a plan today for a floating, basically, city that looks like a huge seaplane with like all these villas in it. That's going to be like an ocean liner that's like the biggest thing ever built from Saudi Arabia, because of course they've got a ton of money. Why not just waste it on building a big boat that's going to be at the bottom of the ocean after the first major hurricane? I am having a hard time understanding the fucking idiocy of people. And hubris is very much in the, right in the realm of narcissism. Hubris, the belief that, you know what's best, and, we're going to do this. Fuck it. We don't want to look at the research. We don't want to understand the right way to build this or do anything. It's pretty fucking hilarious when you think about it. Like, watching humanity kind of dig its own grave, because I gotta say, even though I sound frustrated, it actually is kind of more or less entertaining to me, because I expected it to happen. I heard years ago, after reading a lot of books, I kind of became a doomer for a while and got really into apocalypse and prophecies. And I studied Nostradamus. I read Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper, a book about the Federal Reserve called The Creature from Jekyll Island, which explained taxes and how they're immoral. I read about MK Ultra, all this shit back in the 90s, and built this like total distrust of the system in general. And over the years, I thought, how are people ever going to come together? There have been groups that have been marginalized and ridiculed through history. I'm not going to mention any by name, because it's, it just brings up algorithms that pick out that shit. But resistance groups within my own country that have fought back against tyranny, that have been marginalized and basically ridiculed as, quote, terrorists, when in fact they actually did a lot of good to expose the corruption of the government. You could use Edward Snowden as a perfect example in the modern day. What he did. Loved by many, hated by many. He is a guy who exposed the fact that people were being illegally spied on, and he's ridiculed as a traitor. He's both. He's a hero and a traitor, right? But which is more important? It's a big question. And, It's the same way I feel about Julian Assange. I honestly think the guy's a total piece of shit. But it doesn't mean that I hate what he did. And that's a complicated issue as well. But the point with that is that he's very arrogant. Julian Assange is an extremely narcissistic person. And a lot of people who do those kind of things are narcissistic because they see that they can be recognized and talked to and be famous if they do it. So it's complicated to know if people do things for the right reasons. Because, yeah, I don't know, that's a tricky one. But anyway, to continue on the narcissism path, one of the saddest things about it is that there's a lot of real world damage done to people who trust celebrities. And I grew up to distrust celebrities. We were always told, well, what the fuck could they know? They're actors. What do they know about smoking? What do they know about science or technology? They'd be spokespeople on computers, on TV, computers. But later when we got computers and we got onto the internet, we found those same actors and actresses speaking the same old bullshit, except for now they're telling us what kind of health advice we should have, whether we should get a shot or not. And you basically, Hollywood became hated by so many, especially conservatives, because of the fact that they seemed to be sticking their nose in everyone's business. So if Hollywood makes all the movies and they're sticking their nose in your business, naturally you're going to get pissed off. Like, fuck you, I don't care. It's like, don't meet your heroes, right? I don't want to hear what the actors have to say. I just want to watch the movie because they're not experts on those things. But a lot of people trust these celebrities. And so if these people are sponsoring NFT projects, for example, which, as I said earlier about Bored Apes, or I was talking about NFTs, which I said months ago, just total bullshit. I fucking can't believe people are buying into this crap. You're going to lose your money. Don't be stupid. They all fell apart. Of course, they always will. The new fad will always fall apart. And Bored Apes were one of the projects. And then I saw this clip from Jimmy Kimmel where he had showed his Bored Ape, and then, he had it actually, of course, mounted on this cardboard thing so he could show the audience, yeah, I bought this. And then Paris Hilton, of course, is his guest. Oh, I have mine too. Here's two ridiculous Hollywood people showing the same ape, the exact same monkey, with different features, right? Different colors in it. But who knows what people think they paid for them. But when research was done, they were given to them and they were paid to show them on the show. Obviously, this is how a lot of these people do it. They buy their own product, they raise the price. NFTs and crypto are garbage investments, and I really urge people to just avoid them at all costs. Put a little bit in, sure, it's like gambling, but don't put your life savings into crypto. It's just, the thing is, the argument a lot of folks have is that the dollar isn't backed either. And hey, I agree. But if the dollar falls apart, what happens? The Americans riot. The government doesn't want that, so they will do anything they can to keep things afloat. Whereas with crypto, if it fell apart tomorrow, whose door are you going to knock on? If you went to the computer and there was just nothing there, right? I mean, it's possible. It's a weird time to be alive, people. God, it's really fucking weird. I see there's a few comments I didn't see. Oh, Al Ohm, yes. William Blake. Fake it till you make it. Clone your idols. Hey, it's Infected Chris. Good to see you too, my friend. And Al Ohm and GS Dory says if population doesn't know it's imprisoned, then it won't revolt. But I feel people will start to wake up to the idiocracy in front of them, being taxed into the grave and forced into taking the beep, which I can't even say that word because I had my channel almost deleted because I got a couple of strikes by talking about that particular, jab thing. It was a weird time. I did make one podcast because here's what's funny. I pay to host this podcast, the one I'm recording on audio. I don't know, it's like $15 to $20 a month that I'm paying, and I haven't even used it in a few months. I haven't been uploading podcasts. I'm like, why am I paying for a service I don't use? Even though I can talk about these things there. but it's because I can't face the camera and I like to talk to people face to face. I made one about that whole COVID issue, and I haven't finished the one I want to make. When I do make it, I'm going to put it on my other YouTube channel and hope it doesn't get censored. And I'm going to point you all to it. But I've been documenting the whole pandemic, and it's just, let's just say, there's some things I will say on the, that I won't say on the video because I know it's going on YouTube. And my family decided to not get it. We said, well, we will go for natural immunity, and that's what we chose. And that's all I'll say about that. And I'll also say that a couple of years later, I'm ever more grateful that I didn't. I mean, I've had COVID once, maybe twice. I could have had it 3 times. I don't know. The only one time I tested positive, I think we've all had it probably a couple times, but it wasn't that bad. Just went on with life. But now I'm hearing a lot of bad things about, you point out the celebrity. When I was just talking about the celebrities, that's what they were talking about. They were telling you should get it, or, you're a bad person. That really bothered me. The fact that people were being coerced into taking a medical procedure that, in retrospect, was never tested against spread to other people at all. They admitted this, in their own papers, that no, they never tested to see if it really stopped spread. That tells me that everything we were told about why to get it, to help other people, made no sense, and that really bothered me even more. Well, I should say it vindicated me and a lot of other people into saying, well, another, thing we were bullshitted about. And I don't want this to be a divisive thing. Definitely not, but I'd love to discuss it carefully. Hello, Freestyler J Partner. I'm going to read the rest of the comments here. As LM says, as Nietzsche said, repeated by Brian Blue, we are all creation, artists being to label one another is where we fail. To label one from another is where we fail. I actually agree with that halfway. I'm going to tell you, if you want to do philosophy, I'll pick it apart halfway. I don't believe that people really should go towards homogeneity and try to say we are all the same too far, because then we end up not celebrating the differences we do have. And that's why, if I get that right, everything is creation, value is meaning. Okay, we are creation, art is being, to label one from another. Oh, okay. Meaning is creation, value is meaning, we are creation, art is being, to label one from another is where we fail. I don't know. I guess I'd have to process that a little bit, but in essence, I think that I love separating things and ideas from one another, because I think that that is also where we benefit. It's kind of like judgment. When people often say that they don't judge, I'm like, well, why not? That's how you survive. So maybe I misunderstood the quote, but Nietzsche is really good. Dory says Nietzsche's work, along with Carl Jung's, is very interesting. They both are. I hate to say it because I've mentioned this before, but Manly P. Hall, as dry and boring as that old guy is, I've listened to every lecture of his from the time he was like 20 till he was like 80, over and over at work for like a whole year, every day for 8 hours a day, listening to him and Alan Watts. I came to the conclusion that Manly P. Hall had a much wider girth of ideas, but Alan Watts and the idea of Zen and processing things like a joke and basically life is a riddle, I think is probably the most satisfying thing I've learned about dealing with other people, with myself, with understanding. And ultimately, my goal in life is to be a happier person and to have those around me be happier. Because ultimately, I want to help my family. If my family's happy, I'm happy. And sometimes I wonder, I am selfish in some ways, right? We all are. We all kind of do things for ourselves. Some people are way selfish, and others are not selfish at all, to the point where they don't even take care of themselves, but they take care of others. I'm somewhere in the middle where, everything I do, I really do it for my family. And I feel like I don't know where I would be without my family. I might be miserable as hell and not accomplish anything. But maybe I would be more motivated. I have no idea. I'm not, gonna guess on that one. But Anyway, yeah, that brought me to the Zen thing, that everything's kind of a joke and I have a lot of fun with life, but I take things seriously at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense. Yep. Okay. Pump and dump. Pump and dump. Yep, exactly. Hello, Bunny. She says blockchain itself isn't anything impressive. It's just bad database tech. Yeah, it seems it could be for sure. KC says it's not being used as currency right now, but used to trade for other currency, which is dumb. Yeah, it's true. I know exactly what you mean, man. It's oof. Yeah, cryptocurrency is a huge topic. I should have just made a whole fucking podcast about that, because honestly, it's one of the most interesting topics right now because of the fanboys and girls, mostly fanboys, that really love crypto to the point where they will defend it with their life. You know, they're out there with swords and knives saying, don't talk bad about crypto. And I feel bad because even talking about it, a lot of you probably have invested in crypto at one time or another. My son, you know, who was just over here visiting, he invested a bunch, and I remember telling him, be careful. You can invest in crypto, but it's your life and it's your money. And he put a couple grand into that, and then he ended up losing it. And people just don't want to hear it. In fact, people don't want to hear the negative about anything that they may have done. The thing is, cryptocurrency and the idea of the blockchain technology has potential to actually revolutionize the way we do payments. However, there will be government regulation which will cause fluctuations which are so intense that it's going to actually override the value and benefit of investing in the currency for the average consumer. So in plain English, rich people have enough money to invest in it. The average person, it's not worth the risk. And it seems that that's been universally true over and over again. And it's not a told you so thing, even though it is something that I've been aware of for a long time. That here's the thing, I have studied money, I have studied the economy, I do understand how basic economics work. As much as one individual can who's not an economic. Like my one of my best friends' dad is actually an economics professor, so I'm sure he knows a hell of a lot more than I do. However, for example, I'm a carpenter, but when you come back into the industry after a few years, a lot of things have changed. So no matter how much you know about economics, it's a huge mystery, a big question mark. And when it comes to like cryptocurrency, that's a brand new thing. I remember buying a few crypto, like 3 or 4 Bitcoin, like back in 2012 or 15 or whatever it was, to buy concert tickets, or it was rather tickets for the Eclipse Festival. And they said the only way they were taking payments was in Bitcoin. So we had to transfer a bunch of money to Bitcoin and then buy our tickets. And I think we still had some Bitcoin left over, but I never thought much of it because it was just, a few dollars or something. Hindsight, every little bit matters. It reminds me of this guy who, he had Bitcoin on his hard drive worth $385 million, and he accidentally got tossed somehow into the dump. And he spent 8 years looking for it in the dump to try to find it. And I thought, man, that poor guy. I mean, at least he had a purpose. But holy shit, dude, to waste that much time looking for a hard drive that is probably completely annihilated. Here's what I've said to people. Cash is worthless. Silver and gold are worthless. But if there was ever a long-term power outage and people needed cash to survive, you would be much better off with that than bringing your laptop and saying, believe me, there's Bitcoin on there. Because if you're looking for an investment, I would go with silver. I like silver. I think it's beautiful. I don't have very much, but, it would be a great commodity to trade. And also, you could invest in these grow your own ninjas. They're these little characters that you put them in water and they expand and they come to life and they'll fight for you. So you can actually put 3 or 4 in front of your house and they'll defend your property. We've dug trenches out in front, and we have, Gatling guns set up and 50 caliber on the roof, and we're ready for anything. No, of course I'm not, and I don't worry about the apocalypse, so to speak. However, I am prepared for anything. I love to talk about doom and gloom. I just don't like to upset people, so I don't bring it up unless they bring it up. But let's just say the sun is active right now, and in a couple of years it's going to be at its peak, and just shot a huge X-flare off the backside. And, I have this part of me that almost like revels in the idea of a reality check with people. Maybe not a long-term disruption, not enough to blow Transformers or, set us back 1,000 years, but just to kind of give Americans a taste of what it would be like to be out of power for an extended period of time. Because it would maybe cause people to actually realize that the infrastructure is completely fucked, and that if we only spent like $5 billion, we could probably insulate the entire infrastructure against those transmission lines being damaged during a CME, or coronal mass ejection. And yes, I'm a fucking science nerd when it comes to the space things, but or a solar flare, if you will. A CME is a coronal mass ejection, and it ejects particles out into space. We can detect it quickly, pretty much right away, but it can take 24 to 48 hours to get to Earth. So if there was a big solar flare that was going to actually totally screw up communications and take out our grid, it would damage the long transmission lines through ground currents, basically like the northern lights everywhere. So in essence, if you ever go outside and you see the northern lights and all the power's out, then, and you live in the southern or, central latitudes, then you'll know, hey, there's a solar event going on. In which case that there are several transformers that could be damaged really quickly, and some of those could take years to rebuild. And we have none on hand. Huge transformers for certain areas. With a little bit of money, we could reroute wires and have, buffer zones and like bumpers where they can pull the lines away. But that's another story altogether, I guess. I think that we could do a lot better, and that a little bit of kick in the ass from nature might help us realize our potential. That if we came together and started spending money on ourselves and our nation instead of the military, fighting wars in other countries, subsidies for farmers, while at the same time forcing them to burn certain crops to keep the prices low. It's a really fucked up world right now, people. I mean, it's fucked up bad. Basically, the corporate entities have become so minimal, just so few, just like the media. And it's like, if you even really talk about it, people just like are tired of hearing about it. They're like, oh, whatever. Oh, don't be so conspiracy oriented. Just let the master company own everything. Competition really matters. So the reason why people don't like capitalism right now, it's not because we have capitalism. We have crony capitalism. People don't understand this. True capitalism means that the government doesn't stand up for big businesses and give them bailouts and give the banks bailouts when they fuck up. I mean, think about it. Imagine if the government, you hired the people in the government. What happened in 2008 if you were around back then? Did they bail out the people who lost their houses? No, they bailed out the banks because they said the banks need to stay afloat. Why do banks need to stay afloat if they only give out loans or hold your money that you've already earned? Especially when a lot of them failed and couldn't give out loans anymore. It goes back to the same old principle that really there are no principles. And that we're living in a nation of rules for some, not for others. And it sucks. And I'm open to any ideas of what to do about it. And I'm going back to the comments real quick so I can read what y'all are saying. Yeah. Ninjas are not extinct. Don't ever say that again. I'm a ninja. KC says, live out in the country and hunt. I'll never live in a city. Well, lucky you. That's what I'm trying to do. My wife and I are trying to buy land, so if any of you know of, like, I'd say, I'd be happy with like 4 or 5 acres, but maybe less if I could live in the Northwest. But basically, I want like 5 to 20 acres with just a house and a shop that I could remodel for like under 300, and I'd be totally stoked with that. So keep an eye out for me. Chris says, I read that 112 food processing companies got wiped out last year. Oh, fuck yeah, I believe that. It sucks. But also, I don't know if that's due to the, societal issues as far as like competition. Oof. I'm sure that, here's the thing. Over the last 3 years, a lot of companies have lost out. And I think what you're talking about is the consolidation by companies like Tyson. And what is it? There are a few of them they're fucking disgusting. These people, they've consolidated and bought out all the smaller companies by basically forcing them down. What happened during COVID was so horrible to businesses that almost all the businesses that were lost were small companies, and everybody bigger got bailed out. They siphoned off all this cash. Even, I think Harvard College took millions of dollars in aid when they have something like a $50 billion, what do they call it? It's a buffer. It's like their fund. They ended up giving it back after public outcry. But here's the thing. If nobody says anything, companies just take it. I'm sure Walmart, Albertsons, Kroger, which are all, I think Albertsons, Safeway, and Kroger are all now merging into one company. The illusion of choice has always been there. The fact that, these are the things that we should be paying attention to. And maybe that's why the title of the video wasn't about societal problems, but rather the fucking narcissism and Instagram influencers and all the bullshit that we pay attention to. That people listen to these folks and actually trust what they have to say and think that they have valuable opinions when they really don't. All they're doing is telling young men that they need to go out and get laid, and if they can't, then, be angry at the women, right? If you're not a Chad, be mad at society. Guess what, man? I grew up as a super awkward, zit-covered freaking teenager with a mullet. Not all of us are born beautiful. I had to grow into it. So the truth is, it's true. My wife even says it. Men get better looking as they get older quite often. So cheers to that. Because the funny thing is, yesterday I almost shaved off my whole beard and cut my hair. I thought one day I should just do that live. I'll just do it for donations. I'll take a lock off every time somebody makes a donation. And then I'll take that money and I'll give it to a wildlife fund that is actually me, because I'm wildlife. And I'm a wildlife. I have a wildlife, so technically it's a wildlife fund. But, so yeah, we talked about stupid things like Jake Paul and that stupid bald fucking Andrew Tate shit, who's a perv and a trafficker. Narcissism, Elizabeth Holmes, Bill Gates, the Vax Hero, Sam Bankman-Fried, and FTX. I've covered most of the topics that I originally wanted to talk about, but the whole point I wanted to make was that young people fall for this shit, and it's bothersome. I've said this before, but I grew up in a time where we had lots of ads, and I really hoped that in the day of the internet, we'd be able to get away from it. I also understand that people need to make money, and if people aren't willing to pay for the services they have, then, hey, they're going to advertise, they're going to make it, But why is it that the top TikTok and Instagram influencers are some of the shadiest and most shallow people on the entire planet? Why is it that mainstream bullshit is still prevalent? Why are these things interesting to people? Sex, power, these things sell. If you dress skimpy and you look good, you're going to get views. If you put in something controversial, you're going to get views. If you post that you do nasty things with dogs, like some controversial post somebody did on Twitter, I guess the other day, which I saw from Charlie or Penguins, Moist Critical, whoever you want to call him, he did a video talking about this, and I was just like, this is the kind of thing that is such trolling. People want to get attention, and those are the narcissists. Even if they're lying about what they're saying, they're trying to get that attention. Look at me. Look at how important I am. And it's rooted in a deep, deep, deep sense of insecurity. A feeling that you're not worthy. A feeling that your life doesn't matter. A feeling that, and that sounds totally counter to what people believe. A narcissist acts the way they do because they're insecure. The more secure you are in who you are, the less likely you are to act like a complete fucking idiot. And why should it bother me or anyone else that people are idiots? Like I said, because young people fall for it and believe it. I was young once, but even then I fortunately didn't look up too much to my heroes. Most of them were 80s metal rockers who wore such absurd clothes and lipstick that I probably would never dress like Dee Snider. But the truth is, Dee Snider became my hero even more later when he went up against the PMRC and Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, when they tried to, ban rock and roll, and they ended up putting the parental advisory stickers on the labels. Great story. Plenty of documentaries about that one. And so the thing is, young people fall for a lot of these scams and lies, and then they try to be like their heroes. They want to be like Logan Paul. They want to be the guy who has, it's the old joke of, hey, I'm going to tell you how to get rich, or I get rich telling people how to get rich. And they get rich telling people how to get rich, and nobody really fucking does anything or has any accomplishments to show for it. I don't want to get rich. Obviously, I've been doing YouTube for 12 years, and I haven't made shit off of it. Thank you to my patrons still, of course, because I never want to neglect those people. I've had a few donations through my live chats. I've had a few through Patreon, and I think it's awesome. But I don't do this for money. I do it because I like talking with people, reading your comments, and hearing what you have to say. And I can still keep it. Right now, I have 22 thumbs up and 22 people. I love that. I appreciate all of you being here to watch. So thanks. I'll read your comments in a moment. And I wanted to say young people fall for this shit and they want to be like their heroes, and their heroes are fucking assholes. Andrew Tate's an asshole. Think of Mark Zuckerberg. Think of how much hate that guy gets. All right? Now, ask yourself why the guy gets so much hate, okay? Here's what's funny. Yes, Meta or Facebook collects a lot of data, but the guy himself is just an awkward nerd. Imagine if that much hate was directed towards a guy like Andrew Tate. Well, no, because he's bald, but on purpose, right? He wears sunglasses and leather jackets and kicks women out of the studio when they question him. This is considered a role model for young guys. And so that's why the idea of narcissism bothers me, because young people are going to become more narcissistic. I've seen people confronted in different areas where they shouldn't be doing Instagram posts, right? There are channels dedicated to just filming people doing Instagram posts. It's absurd. Like, I have a no filter policy for me, It's funny, I made a video. It's one of my most popular videos on YouTube. Is about Instagram, and it even has the word whore in the title. It's Instagram influencers and ego whores. And it talks about, what a waste of time it is. It was from years ago, but I actually signed up last year or something for my guitar, building, because I make guitars now. And I was like, I need a way to distribute just pictures. And now YouTube has pictures, but it's not the same, I thought, well, I've never scrolled through the feed. I just use it for a tool. So apologies to anybody who sent me a private message or whatnot. I don't read any of that stuff. I read YouTube. YouTube is my platform because I can use my fucking face and voice at the same time and look you in the eye, even though I'm doing a podcast at the same time. And you can either trust or distrust me, and you can see whether or not I'm being sincere with you, because so many people are full of fucking shit these days. All right, that was a breath. I'm going to take a moment and just read through your comments. So thanks for being here. As I said, I want to read comments live. I know some people have said that's distracting. Just keep talking. If it bothers you, I'm sorry. I just want to feel like I'm here with the people reading them. And so I put on my glasses. Existed. Good to see you, my friend. Glad to catch you, Carpo. I thought I was clicking on a video recorded already. No, not already. I do not do live casts. There are a lot of people who actually make fake live casts and they never interact with the audience, but I just think that's fucked up. Can't stand Andrew Tate. Existed. Free Top G. Dragona 72. Some do, some don't. I'm not sure what you mean. Bunny says Tate only gets rich by selling his courses. Story old as time, though I must admit he did motivate me to work out again. Let me make that a note on that. You are correct. That, like, my wife even said this. We were talking about Tate, and she's like, well, he has made some good points, though. And I was like, I agree. That's the thing. Of course, exercise, eat right, do good things for yourself, and treat yourself right, and don't put up with other people's bullshit. I totally agree on those. But it becomes bad when they say women should be in the kitchen, that women should do what they're told, they should stay in their place, and that this idea of... So here's what happened. The Andrew Tate tweet to Greta Thunberg was just too sweet. That's when it kind of got on my radar again. And if you're not familiar, I'm just going to put it in a nutshell here. Andrew Tate, out of the blue, tweeted, hey, Greta Thunberg. And I think she's autistic, I'm not sure, or something on the spectrum. And she's the environmentalist girl. I'm sure most of you know who she is. And he said, I drive 33 different cars, basically. I've got a Bugatti and all this shit. And he showed a picture. And he said, I emit basically a lot of, emissions. What are you going to do about it? I don't even recall exactly. It was so pathetic. And her response was, wow, that's great. Or he said, what's your number so I can call you and tell you about it? And she said, sure, you can get back to me at something, get a life at smalldickenergy.com, I think, or .com. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And an email address, getalife@smalldickenergy.com. It was the funniest fucking comeback from a little girl. And I know she was coaxed by her group to share that. It was perfect, though. And he got so mad, 10 hours later, he makes this video of him in a bathrobe smoking a cigar, saying, and his Twitter response was, oh, I didn't know that you had a small dick, basically, to her. It was just so fucking, like, this is the guy who is claiming to be cool, calm, and collected. If somebody said that to me, I'd laugh at it, right? Probably because I know I got a big one. No. Hey, truth is the truth. But you can always tell a guy who's insecure about his manhood by his response when you question his manhood. So guys, there's my advice to you. If somebody calls you small, just say, if you only, don't even entertain it, right? Just ignore it, because it just makes you guilty if you are. So, moving on to the comments here. Alum says, society encourages narcissism. The opposite is openness, which is stigmatized. Lose, still awkward. Yes, you are correct, but I'm open, right? So I could be narcissistic or open depending on how you perceive my channel. And that's, I guess, what I was saying at the beginning here. I don't know if you caught that part. I was saying how I was questioning whether I'm a narcissist, and I started realizing most people's definition, basically, it's people who only talk about themselves completely and always want to share everything about themselves, but don't want to talk to other people. So they are the ones who post every day but never answer the comments, never even read them or care. It's always me. Oh, I had these problems. This happened to me. It's like this poor me attitude, which can often lead to people with Munchausen syndrome who basically just want to be sick all the time to get attention. And I feel like society has a collective Munchausen syndrome right now. It's fucked up. And it's hard for me to even verbalize a lot of this stuff. I have to be like half crazy to even talk about it because there's just so much shit going on these days. But at the same time, my life is pretty simple. I go to work, I come home, enjoy my family, make a video. Why does it have to be more complicated than that? So, all right, so I'm continuing on. Existed. Yep, I read that one. Dragona says, what about Klaus Schwab? Oh, God, he's the guy that said, you will own nothing and you'll be happy. The German guy. I don't think really that he has as much pull as people think, so I don't think he's a threat. I think he was taken out of context. I also believe that a lot of these people do want to control the world, but I don't think they have the power to do it because we are the collective and we won't put up with it. So have faith in humanity. We will overcome douchebags. I hope. Existed says, I understand why people dislike Andrew Tate, but he's playing a persona. I agree with some things he says, but other things I strongly disagree with. Overall, I think he's entertaining. I think he's entertaining to some people, but to me, he's just a bad influence on young men. And he buys into this, he is playing a persona. And if that's true, it's even worse. He's got mommy and daddy issues, quite obviously. And basically is making young men think that they should treat women like objects. I mean, that's his basic persona. That's his premise. And the fact that he was just arrested for human trafficking because he was dumb enough. I didn't finish this, but the thing about Andrew Tate, he posted the response video while he was wearing the bathrobe, and he talked all this shit about Greta Thunberg. And then he talked about, had his friend bring him these pizzas and said, and don't recycle the boxes. Like, who says that? Like, okay, we get it. You don't care about the environment. And then they bring him the pizza boxes. Well, it turns out that he was so arrogant by doing that, he didn't realize the pizza boxes revealed where he was, that the authorities came and arrested him the next day because they could read on the pizza boxes where the pizzas came from and tracked him down through his own stupid response video. And the guy is so insecure. He's a moron. And I'm not saying, look, I want to make this clear. Look, man to man, to all the men out there, I'm not dissing men who are insecure. We're all insecure together. And ladies, I don't know your level of insecurity, but men and women definitely have different insecurities. But for men, I get it. You know, men want to be successful. They want to find a mate and somebody who cares about them and respects them. And a lot of guys become what they call incels. And that's fucked up. Involuntarily celibate. The idea that you're labeling the fact that you just haven't had sex is dumb. Look, if you're over 40 and you've tried everything, fine, be an incel. But if you're freaking in your teens or 20s, no, you're just a human being growing up and you haven't got laid yet. It's something that people have been facing from the time immemorial. So I think that guys like Andrew Tate negatively influence young men to treat women like objects. And I just think that's fucked up. And I'm glad that he got arrested because he's a shitbag. Alum says, when a cat is richer than 99.999% of humans, and an article never questions this, but heralds it, we're not well set for the end days model. What cat are you talking about? I'm confused. I'm sure there is. It's probably a digital cat too, right? I think Andrew Tate, hero worship is for children, but Carol is among adults now. I cannot believe either of the Paul brothers are still famous and successful. I haven't heard a good word uttered either of them. Yeah, the Paul brothers are horrible. I don't know about the other one. I just know about Jake Paul, and I feel stupid for even following the guy. I don't follow him, like, I don't watch his videos. But I mean, every time I see one of my favorite, I subscribe to a few channels like CoffeeZilla and some of those expose type channels, because I really, and I should give a shout out to CoffeeZilla on that, because watching that channel grow from nothing, he was Coffee Break, as I was saying, I think, but I love watching people tear apart gurus. I did a bunch of videos, like a series of guru, shit back in the day, but it was not the same gurus. I was talking about literal, like, these, bullshit artists in India and the US who were pretending to be, channelers and spiritual teachers. But there's many different forms of gurus, and people get a lot of, really caught up in believing that one individual can actually know what's best for a whole group of people. And that's called a cult. So yeah, I got really kind of the more I looked into that shit, the more I realized nobody knows shit. I need glasses now. It kind of sucks. So anyway, the Paul brothers, yeah, they've been invested in so many scams. It's just ridiculous. Freestyler says, that's true. Narcissists suck. We wish the option to be rich. Yeah, everybody wants to be rich. Andrew Tate has as many haters as he does supporters. Well, of course he does, but he's, okay, you put under one's life under a magnifying glass, anything good or bad or be magnified. Oh, I totally agree on that, but he's still a piece of shit. I mean, Andrew Tate's a garbage human being. I don't care if he's playing a part. I don't care if he's just making light of things and joking around. When he sits around smoking a cigar in a bathrobe, talking shit about a fucking, like, 19-year-old kid who has autism, you know, like, trying to pick on a little girl, and then she comes back with small dick issues, and he responds. It just shows, it should show anybody who's an Andrew Tate fan that he probably is a small penis, scared little man. And that's sad. You know, it really is sad. It's not that I'm mad at the guy. I mean, I just hope that anybody out there who's listening to this guy realizes he's full of shit. He's trying to sell you courses. He started a course called, like, Hustlers University, right? It's like Hustlers University 2 now or something like that, where he sells you for $50 a month or some shit like that, a course on how to get rich. People actually believe this shit, you know? I mean, I can't just tiptoe around scam artists. Andrew Tate is a fucking piece of shit scam artist. I don't like the guy, and I never have. As long as I've known him, which isn't very long, and I've never met him in person, so what can I really say, right? But based on the data that I've seen on this guy and his own behavior, he is an asshole. And before I talk shit about people, believe me, I watch a lot. I'm a little bit more gossipy than I let on. I watch some of these things. I've even watched some of Andrew Tate's own podcasts to, like, get a feel for the guy, to say maybe I'm being a little critical. I wasn't being overcritical. Andrew Tate really is a piece of garbage. I don't like the guy, and I don't like anybody like him, because that's not how real men act. And I think that there are a lot of young men out there who really need a role model right now. And a guy like that just ain't it. Nor are any of these wannabe gurus who are trying to teach kids how to be men. And that bothers me too. So, am I the guy who can teach young guys how to be men? I don't think so. I mean, I'm just me. But I hope that if I have any characteristics that are valuable, they will rub off subconsciously on people. You see what I mean? Like my dad, he was a pretty mellow dude. He died when I was 15 from cancer. But he taught me well. He took me out and he took me camping and hiking and taught me to shoot, all these different things. And then he just died. But I have a good memory of him, and at least I was able to carry that and want to be a better man because of that. I pick up my garbage when I'm out camping, you know. I try to leave places cleaner. I learned just some basic rules. And I feel like so many young men just don't give a fuck. These are the guys who, you know, drive race cars around the fucking strip and throw garbage out their window and not give a fuck. Like, fuck you guys. You know, that's not being a man. That's just being a little boy and trying to attract girls with your cars. And it's not, you know. Hero worship when it comes to wealth, to me, flexing, anybody who shows off their money on camera, it's just a really sad human being. I mean, that's probably one of the most desperate cries for help I could imagine. But ultimately, that's my opinion. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion anyway. Yeah. Daily dose of mental health. It's good to see you, my friend. He says, Carpo, keep doing you. You've played a role in getting me off opioids 3 years ago. You know, I really appreciate that. And I'm guessing you're talking maybe about Kratom or something of that nature. And I couldn't talk about it very much after that. I was a Kratom vendor. I still am, actually. I'm almost out right now, but I guess I've got more than I thought. But I don't have my website anymore. I let it lapse. I don't have a new certificate. I was having issues with it where it was showing up as like an unsafe website, and I didn't know how to certify it. I was just like, I'm really bad with online business, and I didn't want to just sell an herb online anymore. But for anybody who does want to, just email me, carpo420@gmail.com. and I'll talk to you about it. That's all I'm going to say about that. So I'm glad I could help you get off opioids, because I've actually have a couple friends who have had issues with that, and I'm trying to help them as well. And it's good to know that Kratom helps people. Dragona72. Oh, talking about men getting better as they age. Gotcha. Nope. Got a vape. Sorry. My apologies. I vape. You know, when I first started my YouTube channel, I smoked on camera all the time. It's so awkward watching those old videos. And I also had fucked up teeth because they were rotting. And I've got crowns since then. Aren't they nice? But it's still really weird to look at the old videos where I'm shaved and I have messed up teeth. And I'm like, God, what was I thinking? But I'll look back on these and say, what was I thinking too? I look like a slob right now because I'm wearing this beat up old sweater and shit, because that's just who I am. Dory says, Andrew Tate is the snake oil salesman with his online courses. Yep. 33 cars. The pizza box theory was disproven, huh? Yeah, well, I actually saw the pictures of the pizza boxes, and I saw the close-up of the address where they came from. So regardless of how it came about, I'm glad he got arrested, because he's a shitbag. I'm sorry, dude. I don't mean to insult. You know, if you like Andrew Tate, tell me his redeeming qualities, and I'll be more than willing to address those. I don't want to get into the details because I didn't follow, but from what I've heard, the guy just basically demeans women, and I want to know how that can be justified. By kicking women off his podcast and saying, get the fuck out of here because they have something to say that he doesn't agree with. Like, how could anybody stand up for Andrew Tate? The guy's a fucking piece of crap. I don't know what else to say. So where was I here? I'm going to read the rest of the comments and get back to what I was saying. Rob says, you always told us you were a grower. Don't listen to anyone from Hollywood, says Colombian. No, I don't, definitely. I really believe that even though I can see through the shit, I feel like a lot of people just can't. And Bunny just said we need good role models in society. Yes, we do. And I don't know who those people are or how we're going to achieve that or get that back. If you watch old news clips, sometimes you'll see like interviews that are like, 10, 15 minutes long with like philosophers and scientists that are in depth with very valuable questioning. It's not that we've lost our refinement, because I hate to say it, but our nation is becoming very dumbed down, whether it's by plan, whether it's just by circumstance, whether it's by our own doing. I feel like we have a lot more chances to just not give a fuck. Like when young people are asked how much money they need to survive, they say $171,000 a year. When I found out that, I was like, God damn, dude, that's a lot of money. That's on average. Like for millennials, they say they need $171,000 a year to live comfortably. And I was like, what is comfortably? Like, I mean, I feel pretty comfortable, and I don't make fucking anywhere near that, but it depends on where you live, but that was average. But it declined by each age group. Whereas when they asked how much money needed to retire or to successfully, it was the same except for in the opposite. Younger people thought they needed less to survive after they retired. And that was kind of funny because it meant that they were more, just really didn't think much of it, right? Didn't think that retirement mattered. It's weird growing up in a time where we were taught, that retirement mattered, and these days it's like up in the air. Dragona says, I went into rehab for alcohol. They knew I also used Kratom, so they put me on Suboxone. Oh, that's really fucked up. Wow. I have a friend who takes Suboxone, and I actually borrowed a couple because I had back pain, and I took an eighth of one, and it just put me for a loop. I puked all the next day, and I was up all night. It was horrible. And I thought, wow, they're giving this to people who are taking a plant. Because I've heard other people say that too. That bothers me. I mean, God, like, even like a half a milligram fucks me up on that stuff. So hopefully they were very small doses. You know, I had to go to treatment for cannabis once. 5.5 months of like outpatient treatment because I smoked pot, and everybody else in the room were junkies. It was just the weirdest experience. It was interesting. In fact, I didn't even start drinking until I was in my mid-30s. And over the last few years, I've actually been drinking more, and now I'm ready to quit again. My New Year's resolution is just to cut down to the point where I rarely do. I know it's bad, just like we all have our harmful things that we do to ourselves, and I don't drink all day or anything. I go to work, I come home, and I wait, and I reward myself, but you know, you can only do that for so long, and you know that your liver and your body just doesn't want to deal with that crap, so I gotta quit someday. So I wanted to go back to a couple of discussions I was having about narcissism. I was saying it was a disease of the mind, in the sense of a dis-ease. And if you can't, the thing to understand about a narcissist, if you will, is that you can never change them. They will never change. They are often very stuck in the way that they are. And I think it's a big mistake when people assume that they can improve a person's demeanor by exposing them. Because the worst thing you can do to a narcissist is to tell them what's best for them, or tell them the things that even bother you about them, or dare you open up and tell a person, hey, I feel a certain way about things. So here are the ways that I believe you can spot a narcissist. And after that, I'm going to end the video because it's getting to be 117 million hours right now. Number one, rule of spotting narcissists. It's always about them and their accomplishments. They usually only share things or talk to you or interact, call you, visit when they're doing well and their accomplishments are something they want to share with you. If you share your accomplishments, it's often met with a blank stare. And this is, I think, probably one of the most easy to identify ones with people. They will never ask you how you are actually doing. I mean, they may give you a cordial, hey, what's up? Or, hey, how's it going? But they will often compare their life to yours by making their drama worse. Even if you bring up something that happened to you, it'll always be about them and something that happened to them and how bad and how difficult their situation is. Or, on the contrary, how if you're doing well, they will override you with how great their situation is. The next one is that a narcissist will never admit failures or mistakes. I mean, all of us, we all make mistakes. We all fail sometimes, but it's pretty hard to admit. And all of us have an issue with really saying, okay, I fucked up. But my God, some people can never do it. It's just impossible for them. They will use every excuse in the book and they will carry it on for weeks or months, obsessed with proving that it wasn't their fault. The next way to spot a narcissist. They always know the best way to live and behave. Those are the people who will leave a comment on your Twitter feed, your YouTube channel, or your Instagram, whatever it might be, about how, oh, you should really cut down on this or that. I mean, I see them all the time. I don't get them myself, but I mean, I have in the past, but I see them on other people's posts. The way that people talk to each other about, well, you should really do this, and this would be a better way. You don't know people, you know. But a narcissist always doubles down. They always want to say, no, this is the best way, and if you don't do this, you're a fool. It's like this delusion of grandeur, in a way. The next one, which is a dead giveaway, is that narcissists never, ever, ever want to talk about shit on a deep level. They will avoid deep down discussions any way they can. And especially if they are intended to make the person self-aware about something. Now, this is something I'm sure all of you have dealt with. Certain people are really resistant to talking about anything deep or emotional. It can be hard, it can be difficult. You learn how to interact with them, but you realize that they will never talk to you the way that you talk to certain other people. Like I have friends, for example, that I can talk to on such a deep level, like really personal shit, and they don't get offended or bothered. I can even criticize them, honestly, in a nice way, because I care about them and love them. But some people just can't take it. So you have to learn to move away from those types of people. You can't change them. You can't change it. They will come back around if they feel like it. But don't put up with people's bullshit. Don't sacrifice your own life for a narcissist. The next one, and I have a whole list of rules here, believe me, because I took a lot of notes today before I made this video. I was watching a couple of videos about this. I usually watch several different discussions about narcissism, or whether it be, about any topic, whether it be narcissism or basketball or paper or whatever I'm going to discuss. I don't usually just jump into it. I do a lot of research on it first. And narcissism isn't something you really have to research, but rather something you have to understand because you've seen it. So that's why I made the list. I'm going to go through the comments real quick and go to the bathroom before I finish this. The spotting narcissist part, I think, is the most important part of this discussion, so don't go away. This is brought to you by... Hello, Daniel Riley. It's good to see you, my friend. And Bright77. Hello, my friends. It's good to see you all. Andrew Tate is actually pretty awesome. Oh, shut up, Danielle. You don't believe that. Logic Only Zone. It's good to see you, too. All right, so I'm going to be back in 5 minutes to finish this thing up. I appreciate you all here. Stick around because I'm going to finish the discussion of narcissists, then take all questions. Leave a question. I will answer every single one of them, even though I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about because I'm a human being. Give me a minute, and I will be right back. I better pause this. Remind me to turn it on when I get back. That's my podcast recorder. I guess I'm dropping stuff. Man, it was so unprofessional of me to go to the bathroom. If I was Andrew Tate, I would have gone in and hang out with my taint in the bathroom. And anyway, okay, I'm back. And I hope you all know that I jest in many ways. There's a very mixed kind of feeling among young men about whether to be masculine or feminine, and it just seems like a ridiculous discussion. So the Andrew Tate thing versus the whole sensitive young man thing, it's just become really hard to take. I don't know how to discuss it. I really don't. But I do know that I need to take one thing before I continue on, and I'm going to explain where I'm coming from on this shit. The spotting narcissist thing. They will always talk down on people, but not in a way that is reasonable or rational. Not in a way that really picks people apart, but in a way that puts them down with ad hominem attacks, which are just attacks on the person rather than actually discussing the topic. And some people get very sensitive. It seems like the more a person defends themselves against criticism, then the guiltier they seem. That's not by chance. That's because they know they're guilty. And like the Logan Paul thing, like I said, he's constantly trying to defend himself by saying, I didn't mean to rip off people. I just hired people that ripped people off and I didn't know any better. You know, playing the dumbass, just like Tate, selling a stupid course and having young men believe that it's for real. I personally don't buy into the bullshit. I know that young men need role models, but those guys ain't it. And when there are little lies that you find these people telling, it is very telling. It reveals that if you can do little lies, you're going to do bigger lies. Because what I was taught is don't lie. My father taught me not to lie. And I don't lie about bullshit. I don't make up things. I might be wrong about something, but I don't lie. Ever. It's not worth it. And being honest has its drawbacks, but it has one big positive. You know that you're not going to slip into telling smaller and smaller lies and then gradually build into bigger lies. And it's just not worth it. And when you start making up lies online and bullshitting people, you end up as one of these like fake YouTube gurus that guys like CoffeeZilla totally expose and roast. And believe me, I see a lot of these nerdy young like guys exposing shit online as more of men than many of these. Okay, you know who Penguinzo Charlie is, right? Moist Critical. He's got like 12 million subscribers. He's just this kind of, I mean, he's got a little muscle, but he's just this scrawny, pale, white, long-haired dude that just talks shit on YouTube. Love the guy. Love you, Charlie. And he's more of a man, to me, in my opinion, than Andrew Tate. It's like, that's what I believe it's all about. Honesty, brutal honesty and truth. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's about just being straightforward with people. I have my own opinions on things, I guess. Little lies lead to bigger lies. I believe guys who mean well will not lie. Especially not for clout. And will not flash money around to be cool. It's really, really, really tacky. And here's the biggest one. Always wanted to be the center of attention. How many guys do you know that always want to be the center of attention? Those are the narcissists. That's how to spot them. And the next one is they always have questions, or they always have answers for every question, for everything. And maybe that makes me partially narcissist. And I thought about this before, because I do know a lot of things, but sometimes I want to think I know more than I do. But I will admit defeat when I don't know something completely. But here's the thing with narcissists. All you have to do is look at a guy like Sam Bankman-Fried with FTX. He was considered the most generous billionaire ever. And what did he do? He fucked over people out of $60 billion. Go figure, right? That is a narcissist. I need to flip through the comments, and then I'm going to finish my last... I was going to talk a little bit about FTX and MoonPay, NFTs, Bitcoin, but I think I've already pretty much tested on all that. There's FOMO. It's one of the last topics I wanted to discuss. People fear of missing out. People want to be in with the con. Get rich quick schemes. They're basically multi-level marketing schemes. And it's sad. It really is. I don't know what to think about it. But, okay, so I'm going back. I saw the perfect comment. Narcissists feel uncomfortable most of the time. They can't even chill for a coffee or something. I know a friend of mine that you can't deal with him, no chance. I know people the same way. And often they actually will be upset that you don't come to see them because they feel guilty. They don't come to see you or for whatever reason, but try to make you feel guilty about something, which is weird. Dragona72 says, narcissists never say sorry. Yep, you're absolutely right. Never. I mean, I know quite a few I've met, and they do not. They are always in the right, you know. There's some people who apologize too much. That's annoying, but there's some people who never apologize, and it's like not even fucking. Classic Carpo, tripping over things. Tripping over things, like literally falling down or tripping. All I do is tripping over things. Chris, hello. I took you to the bathroom, Carpo. It's only fair that you take us too. Oh, that's hilarious. I should have actually gone to the bathroom with my camera. You would have enjoyed that. My bathroom is not very clean right now, and I do not want to do that. No, I do not. No, I do not. No. I need a banger. Hold on. I wanted to make it safe for the algorithm, so, you know, I don't want to take a big-ass bong hit on fucking camera. What do you do, right? Bunny says, I've dealt with a covert narcissist. They don't have the confidence of an overt narc. They are often shy and play victim and crazy mental games. Let me tell you, my friend, head games are the first playbook of the narcissist. If you question them, if you have any ideas about how maybe they're being a little rude to you or harsh or explain how you feel emotionally, it becomes a complete like, ha ha, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, people really get uncomfortable. And I'm not trying to like harsh on people who are that way, but rather if you happen to find yourself feeling like you might be one of these people, then, you know, let your guard down. Look inward and, you know, realize that people don't want to fight and argue amongst each other or try to be superior or better. Most people want to get along, but once we built up a wall, some sort of a resistance against other people's ideas, that tends to build into bigger and bigger things. And then we build this idea of who other people are. And it's often bullshit. It's not the truth. God, you know, some night I want to do a live cast tripping on acid and just talk about all the deepest shit that goes through my mind just for my own narcissistic personality disorder. Oh, shit. That came out of nowhere, but I realized as I was saying that, like, who would want to hear me tripping on acid, right? I don't know if any of you watch Psych Substance, but he does live trips, and I'm always like, oh, it's so tacky, I couldn't do that. And I really couldn't. But I thought maybe if it was the right situation and dose, it would be kind of fun to trip and do a live cast. I don't know. Bright77, it's good to see you, my friend. Oh, you're speaking in code again. I'm going to have to decipher that. E-L-O-E-L. LOL. 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 Got it. I am so smart. Bunny says, big tell, never wrong. Lies even in the face of contrary evidence. Yep. As far as a narcissist, yes. Daniel says, the Andrew Tate thing deserves ketamine therapy. Yeah, I've got some. Let's do it. I'm all over it, man. Actually, here, I gotta bring this camera down a little bit on my, like, crappy tripod. It's my phone. I appreciate y'all being here, for real. Dragona says, my abusive husband of 18 years was a narcissist. He was mostly psychologically abusive. He did get physical sometimes. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, and I hope I'm assuming you're divorced at this point, but abusive spouses are no joke. And I'm assuming you're a woman, because you said husband. Maybe you're a man. Yeah, right. I don't judge. No. So women with their husbands tend to not speak up as much as they should when their husbands are abusive. The thing people don't realize is that husbands often have wives that beat them, and they're even more scared to speak up. So for any husband or wife out there who, gets actually abused by your spouse, you've got to get out of that relationship. It is toxic. And I'm glad you did, because, that's tough to deal with. It really is. It really is. Okay. That's hard. Nope. Wait, I can't vape on camera or else I'll get in trouble. Andrew Tate. I call him Andrew Taint. I mean, I feel like he's an Andrew Taint at this point. This camera, that thing's so bright. Fucking lights. You're not a narcissist. Yeah, who knows? We're all narcissists in one way or another, right? I'm a chick, Dragona says. All right, that's good. She said, I was quiet with him. If I said anything, I got in trouble. That's really sad, and I'm sorry to hear that. I've often, I don't know. I don't want to get into that. Everybody else's life is unique, and I've wanted to help people with shit like, I feel like so many people have suffered with abusive relationships and had people who, treat them like shit and don't know what to say, and then years later finally stand up or get divorced for one reason or another, and then have a resentment. I'm not saying it's your case, but just that some people might have a resentment towards either the opposite sex or people in general, and just be frustrated that they put up with somebody's bullshit for so long. And that's why I made this video. That comment like that, which, narcissists are some of the worst kinds of people. I mean, I have like 2 full pages of notes that I took for this video, and I feel like I didn't even cover it properly. It's like, it's a cultural issue. I know a lot of the people who were here weren't here at the beginning of the podcast, so I'm just going to cover a couple things that I mentioned. That narcissism is a cultural issue, and the reason I used Andrew Tate was because the guy is a douchebag who treats women like shit, and a lot of young men believe is like some kind of hero. But it's not just him. I mentioned Elizabeth Holmes, who wanted to be Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Sam Bankman-Fried, people who want to help people who claim to be for others, who really are just completely for themselves. And I got into the whole Instagram influencer discussion and how people are willing to believe somebody because they see them on the internet, just like I used to believe people because I saw them on the TV. I want G.I. Joe guys. I want to play with Transformers. Mom, give me the Transformer. And you know what happened? 9 years old. Thanksgiving. Not just any day, but Thanksgiving of 1985. My mom came home and got my brother and I each a Transformer. You know who I got? Optimus Prime. My brother got Megatron, and we battled. But it was only the neighbor kids that could afford like Castle Grayskull, Panther, and all that shit. But anyway, yeah, we got some dorky toys when we were kids. Where was I going with that? I got so lost in the He-Man discussion and remembering that. There was no time when we were kids to be busy worrying about what other people think. We were out playing, doing things, making tree forts, grass forts. We made traps in the woods where the branch would rip around and whip you in the face with like a spike. We were pretty bad. Pits, punji sticks, basically pits with like pokey sticks to fuck you up. The neighbor kids would like throw us on the ground and throw giant boulders or dirt clouds on our backs and make us count to 1,000. Those were the good old days. And now kids are growing up as thinking they need more than they have. Feeling entitled. I mean, it's a great feeling, but it doesn't last. Nobody's entitled to anything. You get what you get, and you hope that you can get more, and you hope that you'll be happy in your life, but you can't. It's only the narcissists that think that they get everything, They're politicians. They are celebrities. And they are aunts and uncles and cousins. You just can't get away from it. People suck sometimes. People are awesome sometimes. You got to decide who you want to hang out with, right? Meanwhile, I got to take another hit off this vape. If you want to ask any final questions, I'm going to read through every comment like I always do because I'm fucking cool like that. I really appreciate you all coming to listen to me talk. And when I started this video, my intention was to really clarify this at the end of the video. It's about narcissism, and the whole video is me talking. And I guess the difference was that I'm talking about topics and not myself. I don't want to talk too much about myself because it makes me feel awkward. So I'm hoping I'm not a narcissist, but I don't know. Isn't it funny to be a human? I've had an interesting life. Just put it that way. I'm going back to the comments, and I'm going to start right back where I left off. Ketamine, we were talking about chicks. So when I point like this on my live cast, it means I'm reading the comments. Anon delivers. I found it the most down-to-earth live stream on YouTube. I'm one of the few. Yeah, there aren't many that don't bullshit anymore. It's kind of sad. Is new Dr. Speak Josh Ollie narcissist where they learn? Oh man, Bright77 has been a subscriber of mine for a while, so much respect. I won't even try to decipher that yet because I've had a couple drinks and I'm kind of tired, so I'm probably not good at deciphering right now. Dragona said we got a divorce because he brought a new woman home. Well, that's fucked up, and I'm sorry to hear that. That really sucks. Bunny says narcs target empaths. So sad. Yeah, that is fucking sad. Narcissists really do target people who are empathetic because they will think they can change them. It's a psychological thing, and they become codependent in that sense, that they think they can change each other. It's really weird, and I've seen that too. I'm an empathy bunny. Freestyler. Shane Cooker. Haven't seen you, my friend. He says, I think a part of why it's easy to get stuck in these situations is because people can control a specific narrative, and if they repeat over and over, someone might start to get trapped in that, even if it isn't true, even if it has some partial truth to it. You're correct. People will also use a partial truth in order to justify a fake truth by saying, well, since this is true, this must be true. It's called it's a logical fallacy. And I urge everybody out there to research fallacies, all of them. I mean, there's a differing on how many there are, but the ad hominem is the most popular, my favorite. It's the one where you tell somebody something isn't true and they attack you personally or your credibility rather than answer the topic. And that's the most revealing of most people. That if people attack you personally when you attack an idea, then you realize they don't have anything. So that's one of the big tools of the narcissist, is to use that one. So Dragona, yeah, he says, Bunny says, you must be a nice person. I totally agree. You sound like an awesome person. Drip Rippers, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for sharing time, Carpo. I appreciate you spending time with me. I'm just chilling here with my bong and my vape and a little drink that's almost gone, and I thought I would spend maybe half an hour, 45 minutes doing a live cast, and if anybody joined, I would continue making it. And then almost 2 hours in, and there's still 20 people chilling, so I appreciate you all. I don't want you to think that I'm just sitting here as a narcissist myself. I do have a few more topics to talk about, but I want to leave this live cast with the last 10 minutes or so with you guys asking any questions you have, if you have any. And if not, then I'll just kind of talk with you all, because that's why I do this, to talk with other people. I'm going to take a banger first. Yeah. I have a little too much fun with my bone. I first started in, I think it was 1992, when I was a freshman in high school, and my friend Alex at school brought me some weed, and I tried it. Didn't really do much, but the next time I tried it, let's just say, ever since I've been smoking, and I urge young people not to do that. That's my only point. So anyway, continuing on, I want to read the comments before I continue. Spinning Wheels says, Vegan Nation taking over. I love you, my friend. I love that comment. Because I saw that comment on the last live cast. It said Vegan Nation taking over. And and it's from Spinning Wheels. So, you're spinning your wheels, as in, like, there's no way you're not going to get me to eat burgers. Because I love burgers. And I have a great picture of me eating a burger recently. I found out that scientifically it's proven that it's better to eat meat. It's actually better for the environment. Talk to my lawyer. Bright77 says, as soon as Fallout happens, A183 knew or to speak, and he just oh man. I get it. I totally get it. Appreciate that. Jesse Sargent, good to see you, my friend. He says, you decide if you're going to do a weekly live stream? If so, what day? My apologies, but no. Just ain't my style. I really can't do it. I can't dedicate myself to a particular day, because sometimes I just want to sleep. Sometimes I want to hang out with my family. I really whenever I do a live stream, it's going to be spontaneous, and I guess that's going to be my thing. Don't know what else to say. Daniel, Josh, what shall I think about while I fly through the universe? You should think about dragonflies, reptilians, ancient dinosaurs, and pasta. Put those all together and get yourself a good meal. Jesse says, that's why we're here, buddy, to hear you talk about yourself. Yeah, it's funny you said that. I actually was just talking to the audience about how I rarely talk about myself and my own life and how private I kind of am. But I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not. It's funny because I don't know if you're like one of the guys who's just joking as a subscriber, or you're one of the assholes that just wants to like try to like start shit. And that's, I think, the beauty of the world. I don't get upset about shit like that anymore, but I just think it's funny. Ketamine and chill for me, says Daniel. Freestyler says I should have kept all of those fancy toys. You want some Pokemon cards? I got a bunch, dude. Ketamine and the IV. I was just talking with somebody. I have a gram of ketamine somebody gave me a long time ago. Or I bought, sorry, $120. I never did anything with. But I don't want to put anything in my nostrils. And I've been wanting to talk to, do ketamine therapy through maybe a doctor and try that way. I don't want to do it in like a doctor setting. I want to do it on my own, like privately, but I want to do IV. I think it'd be awesome. I really do. I know that's kind of messed up, but it sounds fun. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's authorized for that. Yeah, Dragona, thanks, Carpo. You are welcome. Bright says, not now. Nope, not now. And on to Ilvers. Delivers to Ilvers. Unrelated, but it's a question on here. Do you think it's possible for you to mentor a newbie on hunting for flying saucers? What do I get out of it? Maybe. I live in Oregon, Washington, but I there's a lot of people looking for those. Okay, Starling 2222 says, what is the best kratom dose? That's totally up to the consumer. I can't answer that question, but I would say for me, I've been taking kratom since 2000, I think, 9. So almost 14 years, a long time. And I try to take about 2/3 of a tablespoon, let's say. I take a full tablespoon, then scoop off a big scoop of it. So maybe like that usually is 6 grams. So maybe 4 grams, maybe 3 times daily. So 12 grams, maybe a half ounce. And there was a time where I took more, but I don't anymore because I want to moderate my dose and cut it way down. But you don't need more than that. I would say like a teaspoon, maybe 2 at a time, tops, is more than enough depending on what you're doing. That's my opinion. But I'm not giving you any advice because that's illegal for me. But that's what I do. Chris says, Josh, did you ever get accused of being racist because you had a differing opinion? Oh, yeah, all the fuck, dude. You know what? My wife and I bought a bunch of gloves, goggles, and like stuff to send to the Standing Rock tribe, the Native Americans who were protecting against the pipeline going through, the reservation. And then the thing ended. I mean, I have nothing against anybody, but then when I talked about certain aspects of Native American culture, people called me a racist against I've had people on my YouTube channel actually like tell me that I'm not just racist, but transphobe, homophobe, everything you can imagine. Um, that since I had a certain opinion, I was a racist, you know. Uh, but I've also had people tell me that I'm a racist just because I'm white and my ancestors pillaged their ancestors' land. And let me tell you something about this. Oh boy. That kind of shit really bothers me. When people tell me because I'm white that it's my fault, they lost their land, it's bullshit. It was like my grandparents came here from Scotland. Shit was all fucked up over there. I didn't have a say in what happened before my ancestors got here or even after they got here. I mean, I'm I'm just gonna say that I'm the kind of guy who, when I'm in a group of people in person, I will say I'm a Native American, and they say, "Oh, really? Which tribe?" I say, "I don't know. I was just born here," and it actually bothers people, and it probably bothers people that I even said that right now, but it's true. Like, just because you have blood of somebody else who was born here doesn't mean that you care about this place more or that you're a better person. It's not like even a competition. We're humans. We're all just people, you know? And it just causes more division that people act that way. Anyway, um, I care about all tribes, all people, all races, you know? It's not even an issue, so therefore I don't feel like I have to defend myself on it. I don't know how I got into that. Oh, yeah, Chris asked if I ever been called racist. Okay, I'm going up the list of comments now. My body is numb and I'm going to float around the ether. Mr. Daniel Riley, if you're really as high as you're claiming to be, why are you on the fucking internet? Look, I know Dan Riley, I know you like psychedelics. I know you like to get high. I know a lot of people like to get high on psychedelics. If you ever do, please plan a playlist ahead of time on like Spotify or something like that where you have no interruptions with commercials, and don't be interrupted in your trip. You can do it. You can do it. Fizzy oh, said wacky tobacco. I like wacky tobacco. Dragon upright. Okay. Melting into tranquility. Keep going. Pasta and dinosaurs. Alright. Dragona says my mom says the same thing. She's native because she's born here. She's 70. Well, that's, I guess that's maybe can bring me full circle. I've been talking about narcissism. We got into a discussion about racism. Let's talk about woke culture, if people want to call it that. I know a lot of people think it's kind of ridiculous. It's not a thing. It doesn't exist. But the fact is, there is a huge group of people who want to ban or censor or, berate anybody who talks against the system that they've created, and a belief system about racial equality, sexual equality. I believe the world's a better place than it was when I was a kid. I think that overall, more people are respected and given privilege and left alone than when I was young. And I want to know what you all think. This will be my final discussion. It's a perfect transition into being done with this live cast. What do you think about the fact that back in the 80s, I used to go down, people talk about how bad Portland is. Let me give you an example. How, like, oh, well, there's been a lot of problems in Portland, all riots and everything else. Sure, it's fucked up down there. Drug use everywhere. I agree. But when I was young, I used to walk through there and feel really awkward, and I had to go around the skinheads because they were everywhere in that city. There was a huge gang problem. I got chased by Bloods because I was dressed like I had blue on, and I was dressed like, mistaken for a Crip with a group who also wanted to be a Crips, but I didn't really realize what I was getting into. I've been chased by Bloods dressed like a Crip and had to hide in an apartment and like lock them out. It was fucked up. And you know, you think about how bad Portland was and they actually got better. I feel like not just Portland, but the whole world has been improving. New York was a shithole in the 70s and still got problems, but I think people blow it out of proportion. So some places have really declined, but it's not as bad as a lot of people make it out to be in the US. So I guess my question is, shouldn't we be grateful for what we have? And that I'll leave that to you all. Jesse says respect is gone in the young generation. You're true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got it. That's exactly it. Anon says, we'll raise sheep. If it's worth your time, I'll trade meat and wool if you're into that. Yeah, well, I'm definitely raising my own plants, trying to grow my own vegetables. Hopefully that if the shit ever hits the fan and the apocalypse comes our way, we'll be able to protect ourselves. Anyway, I'm only going to be on here for another 3 minutes. If you have any questions, please ask, because I'm getting tired and I'm hungry. And if you haven't hit the thumbs up, please do, because then it'll help the algorithm. And if you're not a Patreon member, you should be, because I'll be putting most of these live casts on Patreon. And also, that's about it. I don't have much to add. But I'm going to wait for a moment and give final farewells to you all if you want one. I want 2023 to be a great year. Sounds cheesy, but I want people to be happy. I want people to enjoy their year. I want people to feel confident in who they are, and not feel insecure and unwarranted and not valuable. But I also I'm just really sick of seeing a lot of arrogance and ignorance out there. It's disturbing. People mostly mean well. And we as humans tend to pick out the worst in people because we can't help it. It's probably some genetic predisposition to pick out the worst because then we are defending ourselves from bad things. But realizing that most people mean well and don't mean us harm is also important. And I think it's crucial to our success overall. I really do. Visual difficulties. Yeah. Well, I have those too. When I started my YouTube channel, I didn't have to wear glasses, but now I have to read the goddamn comments. Worldwide, now is the best time to be alive. Poverty is generally going down. You are correct. Yep. And you all have a wonderful night. I appreciate you all. I love you all. I mean that because ultimately we all came from the same creature, if you will. The same fish, the same species. Much love. Give somebody a hug. Go eat yourself something good. I'm